POV is exactly what the title suggests. Three cops, a rookie, Officer Montoya, and Detective Bullock, try to apprehend a gang and things go really wrong. Then the three each tell their side of the story to Commissioner Gordon and a lieutenant who seems overly suspicious of them being on the take because they screwed up the arrest. The first half of this episode is just plain awesome and ridiculously engaging. Like the title card suggests, the first half is like putting together a puzzle as the viewer is given the information to fully form what happened and in what order it happened. For this part of the review, I had to do more summary than I usually like to do, but it helps in putting together the events of the bust and analyzing why events unfolded the way they did. The first story is by Bullock, who claims in voiceover that he went in before Montoya and the rookie showed up because they were late to the sting. He also says that Batman went into the building, but we clearly see that after Bullock goes in, Batman's shadow is on the closed door. Bullock accidentally makes a noise, which he also blamed on Batman, which leads to a struggle with the gangsters who were there to take money the police had placed there to nab them. The struggle leads to the warehouse catching on fire, and Bullock is trapped beneath in clouds of smoke. In the voiceover, Bullock said that he had it under control and it took him all his strength to get himself and Batman out. But what we see on screen is Batman using his bat grapple to get the both of them out of the fire. Bullock is the only one who truly lies, and Commissioner Gordon defends his officers to the lieutenant, saying they are not liars. Bullock gets questioned as to why he had to go in first, but we never receive a clear answer, and he still claims that Montoya was late. In Bullet for Bullock, he says that he is not on the take, but he bends the rules in a similar way to Batman, which probably explains why he felt he could arrest them all by himself. While it still seems pretty clear in this episode that he's not on the take, it could have been clearer why Bullock ruins the whole operation pretty much. The second story is by the rookie, who tries to apprehend the gangsters who fled the burning warehouse. The rookie story is the classic viewpoint of seeing Batman as a superhuman figure. When Batman takes out the gangsters, he uses his gadgets, but due to Batman's incredible presence, the rookie sees them as superpowers. An example would be when Batman throws a bunch of spikes to stop the gangsters' cars, and in voiceover the rookie says that he saw sparks fly out of Batman's fingertips. Batman interrogates the last thug, and all the rookie can make out from the suspect is the word Doc. The rookie's story is not completely sticking to the truth, but unlike Bullock, the rookie was truthful in what he thought he saw. Since Batman's stories are usually from his perspective, it's refreshing to see Batman from the outside, which is an element in all three of the stories, but especially the rookie story because we see how someone who believes in the rumors about Batman views Batman's level of skill. There are other stories that take this approach of seeing Batman from an outside perspective, such as the New Adventures episode Legends of the Dark Knight, which we will get into much later on, and other comics as well. And it's interesting how Batman's presence can intimidate people to the point of believing he is more than man. The third and final story is by Montoya. P.O.V. is the first real introduction of Montoya, who was created for Batman the Animated Series, but we have seen her as a part of the police force in Pretty Poison. This is the first time Montoya is used as the driving force of a story, and the character has greatly evolved. She was introduced into the comics and became the Question's protege, and actually became the Question after his death. She has come a long way from being a cop to being a superhero. Excuse me. Though at this time we don't know where she is in the New 52 continuity. I like Montoya judging from this series, though I hope Vic Sage is reintroduced as the Question because he's, well, Vic Sage. Anyway, Montoya goes inside the burning building because Bullock says there are still thugs inside. Montoya hears the thugs mention the word Hathcock, and Batman steps in to help her out, where Montoya comments that he was in much better shape than Bullock claimed. During the struggle, the warehouse starts collapsing, and Batman is seemingly buried by burning debris when he pushes Montoya out of the way. After hearing and watching Montoya's story, you have an almost fully formed picture of what happened, and is super effective at keeping the audience engaged. Montoya's story sticks closest to the truth and doesn't really focus on a new perspective of Batman, but more on raising the stakes in the present. The lieutenant suspends the three cops, forcing them to turn in their guns and badges. It's getting a bit repetitive now, but the music throughout is so cinematic, and adds so much dimension to scenes when the warehouse catches fire, and when the three cops have to turn in their badges. Remember when I said the first half/3/4 of the episode was really good? Well, the final part of the episode strays away from what I thought was the coolest component of the episode, which is the title, POV. It does make sense you don't get multiple perspectives at the end since the bad guys need to be apprehended in the present, but it just greatly lowers how engaged I was. I do like Montoya and how competent she is, but it bothers me that the Rookie and Bullock are almost completely removed from the rest of the story. I'll get into why that bothers me in a second. So anyway, Hathcock meant a warehouse on the docks, and the dock word meant docks, the Gotham docks. And the building Hathcock, the gang is using as their base. It turns out that Batman survived and is being held captive, but it turns out that all Batman was really waiting for was for their boss to come. Batman easily cuts loose, and Batman and Montoya team up and defeat the gang, apprehending their boss and recollecting the money. Gordon gets their badges back by awesomely putting that snobby lieutenant in his place, and Montoya says that the collar was a team effort by the three of them. That's where it bugs me that the Rookie and Bullock aren't in the final action sequence at all. All they really did as a part of the team effort was trying their best to arrest the thugs and ultimately failing, and afterwards telling their story so Montoya could put together the connection between Doc and Hathcock. Bullock's story didn't help Montoya with that because he didn't even hear anything that could have been a clue. If anything, it was really a team effort by Batman and Montoya since they both actually took down the gang. Not even the teamwork with Batman and Montoya seems like such a big deal because it seems to me that Batman had it under control and could have taken them himself. Of course Montoya did help and probably made apprehending all the gang easier, but if Montoya hadn't been there, I think Batman could have managed. Don't get me wrong, I do like Montoya and she is able to stop crime to the point of later being promoted to detective, which, judging from this episode, she totally deserves for helping Batman out. I guess the fact that Montoya helped save the day and that Bullock was already a detective is the reason why we never see the Rookie in this series again. It would have been interesting if the three had gone on as a team, but oh well, they didn't really do a great job as a team this episode anyway. Before I forget, the animation is good, with lots of shadows and the atmosphere has a really pulp feel to it. The characters are drawn well and look good in motion, pretty much on the level of The Last Laugh, though I think the motion of the characters is slightly better here. I complained about the second half of the episode, but the fight at the end with Batman and Montoya taking out the gang is very entertaining and not hard to watch. Overall, this episode could have been a great episode, but as it stands, it's a pretty good episode. POV is probably the densest story of the series so far, getting a lot of story packed into 22 minutes, so that it feels more like mini-movies, as Eric Radomski thought of them. The beginning is great, but unfortunately the end doesn't live up to it. Still, even the end is entertaining to watch, so I will give POV a 4 out of 5. I expected to rate this higher because what I remembered most was the very interesting beginning. So, I'm pretty much wrapped up with the review here, so I'm gonna go into a few updates. Remember I said last week that each week I'd be uploading a new review. Well, I'm still gonna be doing that, but every now and then, occasionally, I will say, instead of next week, I will say in 2 weeks, catch this next episode review of Batman the Animated Series. In that week between the episode that I just did and the next episode, if I say 2 weeks, in the week between, I shall instead be doing either a movie review or a comic book review, because I still want to do those, and I promised Hulk Visionaries Volume 8, which I haven't done yet, so I have to do that. So one of these days, I shall say in 2 weeks, I'm going to do Hulk Visionaries, and so the following week, I shall do another episode. But don't worry, because next week I'm still gonna review the next episode, which is The Forgotten. So yeah, so that's what's gonna happen. And by the way, I'd briefly like to mention that in the last review of The Underdwellers, I want to reiterate that I might have rated the episode a bit too high. But I still think I enjoy this episode. I enjoy The Underdwellers more than POV, because The Underdwellers has a more constant rate of quality, While this episode, if POV had continued with the quality of the beginning all the way through, it would have easily surpassed the Underdwellers for me. But as it stands, I think most people would say the Underdwellers and POVs are around the same level. I rated Underdwellers higher because of, personal things, which is probably something I shouldn't do, but I just can't help it. I do like that episode, and it gives us more interesting facts about Batman than POV. So anyway, that's all I got. So next week I shall of course review The Forgotten, and I hope you guys stay tuned, and I thank you a lot for watching and or listening. And so yeah, I'll see you guys then.